Greetings, fellow Roto Ballers. Welcome back. It is week 17. It is the check down. Welcome back to the show that gives you our favorite quarterback and tight end starts and sits for, guess what? Your fantasy championship. If you've made it this far, congratulations. Or maybe you're just playing for the coveted 8th place. I appreciate the pride. Bringing our co-host here right now. This is going to be a little bit of a different one this week, and stick around to the end of the video for our favorite bounce back candidate. But first, our co-host, David Rispoli. What's up, Dave?
Joey, look at this. Look, let's show the good people. Christmas came, and there's 2 reasons why we're wearing this great shirt. Actually, 3. One is because our wives think alike, and they're great ladies. 2, it's because fantasy managers are about to head to the WrestleMania of fantasy football. It's the finals, baby. It's time to get serious. And if you're a fan of the check down, you know when I'm wearing a wrestling shirt, that means me and Joey had some good picks last week. And Joey, this wasn't just a good pick last week. This was a check down first, baby. For the first time, we decided to say 2 quarterbacks for you to start that we felt were getting ranked outside of the top 10. And they finished as your QB1 and your QB2 on the week. That was Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow. We're feeling the warmth. We're getting you guys to the trophy, and we got some colder takes this time around, Joey, but we feel pretty good about it. Tell the good people about what we're going to be doing a little bit differently on this show this week.
David, it's all about balance, my man. So we have to cool it off after the scorching hot week we had this week. Well, look, here's how it's going to work, everybody. First of all, you're in the fantasy championship most likely if you're checking out this video, so congratulations. Or maybe you're just trying to win your money back. There's a strong chance that you have a fantastic quarterback already in your starting lineup. But again, we are going to timestamp this. It is 2:28 Pacific time on a Tuesday. And this NFL season has been unpredictable, as we all know, in terms of health and safety protocols. We're not really sure who's going to be in and out of the lineup. So we're going to try and present some options for you. And Dave, you said it best on the pre-show, a range of outcomes of some quarterbacks that we just like their matchups. So if something happens to the lineup, someone ends up on a COVID list or something, all of a sudden you can kind of maybe put that quarterback in there and get you hopefully a top 5 number that's going to help you win this league, which brings to our first pick of the week. We're going to call him a start. Look, he might not be in your lineups, but you might have to throw him in there. It's Kirk Cousins versus the Green Bay Packers. Here's the deal. Kirk Cousins, to his credit, the QB8 this season right now, heading into the final 2 games of the season, and the guy's actually played pretty well from a fantasy perspective. Eye test, maybe not so much. And forgive me for saying this, Dave, but I have a feeling that the Vikings might be down in this game. They might be chasing a bit of a deficit, so I do like Kirk Cousins to throw the football a lot in this game. And on top of that, it's a favorable matchup. Green Bay is allowing 23.69 fantasy points to quarterbacks a game over their last 5 games. That's 12 passing TDs in that span, 2 rushing in that span. And they're allowing 260.8 passing yards. How many passing yards did Kirk Cousins average this season? 261. So that's a great place to start right there for a nice floor level to get you at least maybe 260 and 2 scores. And again, Cousins in week 11 posted 341 passing yards and 3 touchdowns against them. I think this is a good matchup. At the very least, we can get you some garbage time action. So I think Kirk Cousins is definitely very playable this week in week 17.
Joey, I'm just happy that Kirk Cousins found a way to bookend our season. You know what I mean? Like last year it was Ryan Fitzpatrick and Derek Carr. This year, certainly it felt like it was Joe Burrow and our man Captain Kirk. Really came out of the woodwork. Came out of the wood Kirk, if you will. Joey, gotta end the season.
I'm gonna miss
strong.
you. I'm gonna miss you, Dave.
Strong, pal. Okay, everyone just turned off. It's all right. Here's my streaming option, Joey. News just broke, okay? This is again, still developing. We don't know for sure he's going to get the start. But if he gets the start, I like him. I'm talking about Trey Lance. We don't know what's going on with Jimmy G and his thumb, but if you are desperate, if you've been streaming quarterbacks all this time and you have made it, I think this is the safest option you can get. Why? We have a small sample size on this guy, but in week 5 was his actual only full start. And in that game, he had 16 carries for 89 yards. 11 of those were designed runs. Now, he is going against Houston in this matchup, and as of late, they are a little bit better than we once thought. Okay, we've been racking on these guys all season, but over the last couple 4 or 5 games, they've kind of come to life. They got a lot of oomph. I'll give them that. But here's what I like about the Houston Texans. They give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing running backs. That's what you're getting in Trey Lance. You're getting a running back in your quarterback spot. That's why he has a high floor. They're designing runs for this guy, and that was back in week 5. He's had 11 weeks in the Shanahan system now. I like him as a high floor play. I don't think exactly he has that huge ceiling, but if you're looking for 16, 17, 18 fantasy points in your quarterback slot, Trey Lance is your guy.
And again, Dave, I love the call because maybe some people are watching this and they're saying, why are you saying Trey Lance right now when I have Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, fill in the blank quarterback? Who knows what's going to happen, people? And look, this happened to me just this last week with Lamar Jackson. I had to scramble. I had to figure stuff out. And trust me, after a long, winding story, I ended up big starter for week 16, and now I'm not in the finals. So you have to prepare for everything, and I think if something happens to your quarterback, taken out of the lineup late in the week, I think Trey Lance is a great play. Just go out and pick up, and guess what? He's available in almost every single league right now, so that's going to be able to happen. Let's flip over to the tight ends. These are tight end starts. These are guys who I actually do like that think they can get you a top 10 number this week, depending on injuries. Dave, it's the holidays right now, and there's nothing better than me kicking back and going to the tropical island of Foster Moreau. That's what I'm saying right now versus the Indianapolis Colts. And here's the deal. It's a great matchup, and there's some good numbers to back it up. The Colts are allowing the 4th most fantasy points to tight ends this season. Over the last 7 games, 5 tight ends have posted at least 10-plus fantasy points against the Colts. There's 3 touchdowns in that span. And look, Moreau's the 27th overall tight end right now, and Waller, he's got the shoulder. Look, he might try and practice this week. As of right now on Tuesday, it looks like he is unlikely to play. And Moreau's averaging 6.3 targets a game the last 3 played. He's had 66 receiving yards over his last 2 games. And look, I just think if you look at all the lead tight ends that have played the Colts recently, of the opponents, they're getting at least 5 targets a game. So those 5 targets from the opponents playing the Colts with the 6.3 that Moreau's been playing with recently, I kind of like that as a matchup to be able to pair together. Look, it's a streamer play. It's a long shot, but it definitely is a start right now for some guys that may or may not be in the lineup for your fantasy championship weekend.
Like the call, Joey. Hopefully, Darren Waller sits out another week, heals up, lets fantasy managers have the certainty in Foster Moreau for one more week. Now, my tight end is definitely someone who burned a lot of fantasy managers last week, myself included, in 2 different leagues after having a very strong 3 games. Dallas Goedert reminded us why the tight end position is the absolute worst. He gave us Cole in our stockings, Joey, in a great matchup. Well, luckily, the Eagles get another tango with the Washington football team, who just 2 weeks ago, Dallas Goedert absolutely destroyed for 7 and 135. I smell a bounce back, Joey. I smell not a similar game. I don't think the yardage total is going to be that high, but maybe this time around he actually falls in the end zone. I like a bounce back for Dallas Goedert. If you manage to squeak by with Dallas Goedert in your lineup, I'm throwing him in for the finals.
Yeah, he's a top 6 tight end, and right now the Washington's defense is going like that, and the Eagles are going like this. So, I mean, right there, like that's also a great matchup to just keep in mind there. Let's flip over to our quarterback sits. Now, Dave, again, disclaimer, everybody. Don't go in the comments and say, I'm not starting Herbert because I would be a fool if he blew up on my bench. Now, look, I'm saying Justin Herbert, not as a sit, but it's just a little bit of a buyer beware in the final week of this season. And here's what I'm trying to say is, I'm not saying sit Justin Herbert. I am saying maybe take a closer look at the rest of your lineup, including your flex position, and make sure that you have the guys in there that have the highest ceiling to give you as many fantasy points as you possibly can. And if you need help, drop the comments and questions below. Justin Herbert's playing the Denver Broncos this week. Justin Herbert's the number 2 fantasy quarterback all season long, averaging 23.6 fantasy points a game. Herbert posted the highest number against the Denver Broncos all season among any other quarterbacks, and he only scored 21.7. That is the highest number anyone's even come close to putting up against the Broncos. And now the Broncos have allowed, ever since he's played Justin Herbert, 12.12 fantasy points to every other quarterback they've faced since. Now, look, Eckler back to the lineup definitely helps. Could that take away Herbert's touchdowns? Who knows? They're going to be looking for a bounce back after that loss to the Texans last week. I'm just saying Justin Herbert can get you that 18 to 20 number. I'm saying if you think that he's going to get you the 23 and 6 that you've been accustomed to all season long and above, I'm kind of calling bust on that particular aspect of it. So make sure you just work out your lineup correctly and just say, you know what, Herbert's going to get me a solid number. I don't think he's going to win my fantasy week for me, and that's why he's in our sit category for week 17.
Yeah, Joey, I like the call. And look, there might be some fantasy managers that are in smaller leagues that have a Justin Herbert and have, let's say, a Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is a
Hmm.
guy I would play over Justin Herbert this week. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott.
Maybe
Maybe
your bounce back candidate. Who knows?
yeah,
We'll see.
absolutely. So there's definitely a scenario in which I might even bench Justin Herbert if I have a better option. If you're trying to figure it out, throw the comments down there. All your start questions we will get to. But my sit is a definite sit. This is no if and buts about it. Sit this guy. And again, why not bookend it with the quarterback I drafted the most of this year that burnt me harder than anybody else, Joey? Ryan Tannehill. I'm sitting
Ugh.
Ryan Tannehill versus Miami because why? Well, Joey, in his last 4 games, he has only surpassed 200 passing yards once. And that
Oof.
was 209 yards, by the way. So he only did it by 9 yards. He hasn't thrown multiple touchdowns in a game since week 8. Now he gets a struggling Miami offense at home in a scenario I could absolutely see the Titans defense giving Tua problems and the Titans chewing the clock with their backs. He just hasn't needed to do a lot. Start AJ Brown? Yeah. Tannehill? No.
And that's a crazy call too, because if you look at it, and maybe you're desperate and you want to look at Tannehill, and you're like, wow, he's kind of the 14th-ish, 15th-ish ranked quarterback this season. That's all from the first half with Derrick Henry. That's how far the dude has fallen in the last couple of weeks. I don't like Tannehill either. Let's slide on over to our tight end sits of the week. And look, this one kind of hurts my heart a little bit because he played so well last week, but it's just a bad matchup, and I just don't trust it. It's Dalton Schultz versus the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Dalton Schultz is the tight end 8 this season among all tight ends. I mean, you got to say to yourself, man, I probably got to start this guy, but look, I just don't like the number. We said Hunter Henry last week was a sit, and look what happened, Dave. This is kind of what I'm fearing right now with Dalton Schultz. You know, he's coming off a resurgent game, but the Cardinals, they allowed the second fewest fantasy points to tight ends all season. Two touchdowns to the tight end position all year long. Outside of George Kittle in Week 9, no other tight end has posted more than 8.6 fantasy points against the Cardinals. And look, you want to know where that 8.6 points came from? A 1-yard touchdown catch from Jimmy Graham. So that's how kind of bad it's gotten. This is a huge touchdown-dependent option for me rolling with Schultz this year. Over his last 9 games, Schultz has touchdowns in 3 of those games. So not a great matchup right there on that front. And when he doesn't score, he's averaging 3 fantasy points a game when he doesn't score a touchdown over those last 9 games. If you don't think he's getting the touchdown, he is going to be an egg in your fantasy lineup. He's a sit for me.
Joey, I love the call. And for my final tight end sit, well, welcome
Ooh,
back to the check down, Kyle
our
Pitts.
favorite.
Yeah, it's been another guy who's been a roller coaster ride, a staple of the check down, but we've yet to be wrong when we've told you to sit Kyle Pitts in these last few weeks. Why? Because the beauty of Kyle Pitts is it's very easy to determine when to start him and sit him. Kyle Pitts has had 2 great games against the New York Jets, who are the 9th best matchup for tight ends, and Detroit, who are the 10th best matchup for tight ends. You start him in green light matchups and you sit him in red light matchups. This is as red light as it gets. Okay. He's taking on Buffalo. They are the 3rd worst tight end matchup. So it's absolutely a sit for me. You know, he had a big week last week. He looks great. I can't wait to draft him next year when he's a decent value. But we said in the beginning of the preseason that he was not a value for where he was going. I don't think you should take away anything from him. He's still having a historic rookie season for a tight end, but he's a guy that could absolutely lose you that championship belt in the finals. I'm sitting him. I'm looking for another option.
Yeah, he's got a shot at 1,000 yards, Dave, so tip of cap to him. But he has been as boom or bust as it gets in fantasy this season. He only has 1 touchdown all year, Dave. Buffalo has allowed 1 touchdown since week 6 to the tight end position. That's pretty much all you really need to know.
Do the math here.
The WrestleMania brothers, we settle our case right here. Dave, it's time to do our favorite bounce back candidate. Who's going to jump back up on the mark here in week 17 and maybe win someone their fantasy championship, or at least maybe get someone's money back? Who's it going to be?
Yeah, this one's easy for us, Joe. This is Matt Stafford. And let me give you my analysis. He's playing the Ravens. He's playing the Baltimore Ravens, Joe. Why is that just the juiciest matchup of all time, Joey? Tell the good people.
Well, they've allowed 11 touchdowns, passing touchdowns over their last 4 games. That doesn't even include when Andy Dalton came off the bench and torched them about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And on top of that, though, in terms of Matt Stafford, he had a nice little string of about 23-plus fantasy point performances for about 3 weeks. Last 2 weeks, it's fallen off the map. But against the Ravens, here's what I like, and here's my favorite stat about it. 6 of the top 10 quarterbacks this season have faced the Baltimore Ravens. 5 of them have put up at least 20 fantasy points. Matt Stafford just so happens to be a top 10 quarterback, and he is going to be the 7th to play the Ravens. I like him for a 20 spot, at least more. And Dave, hop in.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I had 2 notes, actually. My last note is, has Cooper Kupp to throw to?
Yes. Thank you.
That's
Thank
right.
you. I
Yes.
almost forgot
Has
about that.
Cooper Kupp to throw to? This should be good. Yeah, this should be just
Yeah,
fine.
Cooper
Yeah,
Kupp
he'll
to
be
throw
fine.
to. Maybe Cam Akers comes back. Odell Beckham in the end zone. All of a sudden, that's kind of become a thing. I definitely think Matt Stafford hops back in. That'll do it, Dave. Week 17.
That'll do it.
We did it.
That'll
the
do it.
first week 17
Total.
ever on the checkdown. Period. Guys,
Yeah.
thank you so much for checking us out all season long. My name is Joey Christopoulos at Joey Sports Guy, David Rispoli at It's David Rispoli, or Tutty Guy Dave, whichever you want to do. Make sure you give him a follow. It's been a whole lot of fun bringing you guys picks. Make sure you bring your comments and questions because we're going to try and help you win your league this week. But until then, we're just releasing this out to you now. Go out there. Go win that league. You have learned all that you possibly can, young Padawan.
It's time.
Go out there. Happy New Year. Thanks for checking us out, you guys, and go win that league.
Yeah, we'll see you next year.